Hey guys, I'm still on the same day. That's why I hadn't shaved. I just got back to the office for just a minute and gonna take some kids deer hunting. Hopefully we get one. With a lot of mouths to feed. But I'm gonna do part 3 of maybe 4. At the worst scenario, 5, but they're kind of short. And this one I'm just really gonna kind of tell a story of how God helped me, and it's related to giving. But I had told you that I was committed to the tithe. And I don't know, probably for the first 15 years or something like that. But I went through a hard season. My daddy died. Well, actually, I fell out with the church I was involved in, and somehow that really messed my head up. I felt betrayed. I felt burned, and I didn't like church. I didn't like anything that reminded me of church, and I didn't go for several years, and I didn't get better with time. I thought I would get better with time, but it didn't get better with time. And then my brother died, and my daddy died, and I just kind of continued this downward spiral. So where I was basically, just gone, just off the deep end, and I was kind of like the prodigal son that left home. And there's a prodigal son story I'd love to tell you at some point. But in that time, I found myself with high anxiety and on anxiety medicine, Xanax, and just not dealing with life or death. I found myself in a really big hole. And the Lord redeemed me and set me back on the right footing. And when He did, in the process of repentance, and I kind of felt like being scolded by the Lord, which was appropriate. One of the things the Lord told me is, you've robbed me of tithes and offerings. Now, at the time, after I surveyed the landscape, I calculated that I was $350,000 upside down. This was, probably 15 years ago, maybe. And what that meant is, if I sold everything I had, paid off everything, with everything I sold, I was still $350,000 upside down. And based on the income I had made up to that point and what I was trying to pay myself, if I could make the payments, it would take me 30 years to pay off this debt. And I thought I was still giving. Shannon was writing the check, and this is nothing against Shannon. Shannon didn't do anything wrong here, but this is on me. But Shannon was supposed to write the tithe check. But in my state, I wasn't giving her enough money to pay the bills, much less write a tithe check, and the tithe kind of fell to the wayside. And I had told myself in this dark place, at least I'm still giving, because I understand the principle of giving. And when the Lord spoke that to me, I was like, that doesn't sound right, but I felt like it was the Lord. So I went and asked Shannon, and she's like, no, we haven't given any money in quite a while. And that scared me, because I do believe that there is a blessing that comes with giving, and there is a lack that comes with not giving. And so I made the decision, even though I knew on paper I'm bankrupt. Actually, I talked to a couple of lawyers about bankruptcy and whether I could keep my house or lose my house, and I mean, seriously, whether I was really bankrupt or not, in my mind, I was bankrupt. But I made a decision that day that not only was I going to reinstitute tithing, but I was going to at least double it, because I owed God back tithes. I figure I probably owed Him 3 years in back tithes. So whatever I took from my salary, I was going to double that in a tithe. And I told myself, the bank may not get their money. If I take bankruptcy, the bank's going to get stuck, but God's going to get His. And so I started doing that with really no hope of actually getting out of this debt, this hole. But the amazing thing is that God started blessing me again. And the favor of God returned. There was several tough years, but God sustained me and blessed me in miraculous ways. And I'll tell, one of those. But the end of the story is, after 2 years, I was not only paid off all the debt, I actually was in the plus. And one of those stories I will tell, and take 4 or 5 minutes, and then just hope and encourage you. But I had a guy in business that stuck me for $125,000, and he was a snake, and he got me. He got me good. He knew what he was doing, and he got me. And he owned a medicine company, and I was selling some stuff to him, and he paid his bill like $60,000 a month. You know, he paid it like the first couple of months. Like I sent him $60,000, he paid me $60,000. I sent him $60,000, he paid me $60,000. And then he owed me about 60 or 65, and he called me and said, "Hey, I'm putting a check in the mail today, but I want to buy some product on this price increase. Can you get it for me?" And I said, "Yeah, already got it." So I'm like, "I've already bought it, so I'll send it to you." And so I sent him about $75,000 worth of product. I got the check, and it was for $5,000 instead of $65,000. And I thought, oh no. And then he gives me the sob story about his wife took the money out of the account, and they're going through a divorce and all that kind of stuff. And so I don't know if you understand cash flow, but there's a way to kind of stay afloat if you can keep the cash flow. And so I knew that if he didn't buy anything for me, then all of a sudden that $125,000 that I owed somebody else was going to catch me. But if he would continue to buy, then I could float that deal for a while and try to work a way to get out of it, or float it forever. So I made him a deal. I said, "Look, if you'll continue to buy, send me a check first. Let me clear it with the bank, and I'll send you the product. If you'll do that, I'll continue to sell to you." So I did that for about 2 years. And on the second year, right at the end of it, one of my manufacturer reps calls me and says, "Hey, we got a $90,000 check coming to you." I said, "For what?" I mean, it sounded great, but I'm like, it didn't make any sense. He said, "Well, I don't really understand it, but there was a dairy program." Now, we're like almost all beef cows. Dairies are milk cows. So we're almost all beef cows. I don't have a dairy rep or know anything about a dairy program. He said there was a dairy program that if you bought enough of these mastitis tubes, it qualified you for a 2% rebate on this other product, which we sell a ton of in beef cattle. Nothing to do with dairy cattle, but it was a qualifier. Well, the only person I ever sold this mastitis tube to was this guy that owed me the money. He had a rep that was a dairy rep, and I would ship it to Texas. And apparently it was enough to qualify me. So because I continued to fool with him, I ended up getting $90,000, which 90,000 minus 125 leaves 35. But I calculated the 2 years of stuff I sold him and what I would have made on it, and that pretty much washed the debt out. And that was just one of the miracles God did. But it happened, I think, because I reinstituted giving. And I didn't do it to get. I did it because it was righteous, and I had been unrighteous in my giving, and I felt like I owed God, and so I did that. So I just want to encourage you to give some thought to giving. Even if you don't think you have it, God can bless you. And it's a principle. I think, Jim, if you watch this, you have a great message on sowing and reaping and stuff like that. If you could like post some quotes or something about that kind of stuff, I think that'd be encouraging to us. But anyway, love y'all. Talk to you soon. Probably got one more, two at the worst. This one's short. It's 8:35.